The massive crystal dome of the Galactic Council chamber gleamed under 3 artificial suns. 200 alien representatives from across the galaxy sat in rising circular tiers, their voices mixing in a low murmur of different languages. At the center of the chamber, Earth's ambassador Tom Miller stood alone at the speaking platform, his gray suit a stark contrast to the colorful robes and biological suits worn by the alien representatives. High Counselor Gray, a tall being with silvery skin that reflected light like polished metal, raised his hand for silence. The chamber grew quiet except for the soft hum of environmental systems, keeping the various species comfortable. "The motion before us today," Gray announced, his translator converting his harmonic speech into standard galactic common, "is to implement immediate containment protocols for the Sol system, specifically targeting the planet Earth and its colonies." Miller's face remained calm, but his knuckles turned white as he gripped the podium. "The people of Earth strongly object to this motion," he said, his voice steady. "We have followed every regulation since first contact 5 years ago. Our technological advancement rate is within acceptable parameters." "Acceptable?" a reptilian counselor interrupted, scales shifting from green to red in agitation. "Your species went from primitive combustion engines to quantum drive in less than 200 years. This is not natural progression." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Miller tried again. "We are simply efficient in our research and development. This is not a crime under galactic law." High Counselor Gray's silver face showed no expression, but his voice carried a note of condescension. "Ambassador Miller, your species has developed military applications for 90% of your technological discoveries. This is unprecedented among civilized races." "We live in a dangerous galaxy," Miller responded. "We've seen the historical records. New species either adapt or disappear. We chose to adapt. And that is precisely why we must act now," Gray declared. "The Council has watched your rapid militarization with growing concern. Your ships grow more numerous, your weapons more powerful, your AI systems more sophisticated. Earth represents a destabilizing force in our carefully balanced galaxy." Miller looked around the chamber, seeing mostly hostile or fearful faces. Even Earth's few allies among the younger species avoided his gaze. "What you call destabilizing, we call self-preservation. Humanity remembers its history. We remember being alone, wondering if hostile aliens would arrive without warning. When we finally met you all, we didn't stop preparing. Would you have done differently in our position?" "Your position," a gaseous being pulsed with blue light as it spoke. "Your position is that of primitives who achieved spaceflight before they achieved galactic wisdom. You build weapons when you should build bridges. You prepare for war when you should prepare for peace." Miller shook his head. "We build both. We prepare for both. That's what humanity does. We hope for the best but prepare for the worst. And right now, you're proving that our precautions were justified." High Counselor Gray's surface rippled with silver patterns, a sign of irritation. "This discussion is pointless. The motion has been proposed and seconded. We will now vote on implementing the containment protocols." "And if Earth refuses to be contained?" Miller asked quietly. The chamber grew very still. "Then the Council will enforce its will through the combined fleet," Gray answered. "For the good of galactic stability, Earth must be prevented from becoming a greater threat." Miller straightened his tie, a very human gesture that made several alien representatives shift uncomfortably. "I am required by my government to inform you that any hostile action against Earth or its colonies will be considered an act of war. We will defend ourselves with all necessary force." Laughter echoed through the chamber, nervous, mocking, and dismissive all at once. "The vote will proceed," Gray announced, ignoring Miller's warning. "All in favor of containing Earth." Lights began appearing above the seats. Green for yes, red for no. The green lights vastly outnumbered the red. "The motion passes," Gray declared. "Ambassador Miller, you are dismissed from these chambers. The Council will now discuss implementation of the containment protocols." Miller walked slowly toward the exit, his footsteps echoing in the now quiet chamber. At the door, he turned for one final statement. "You're making a mistake. Humanity won't just sit quietly and accept this. What comes next? That's on your heads." The doors closed behind him with a soft hiss. In the chamber, the council began their planning, confident in their superior numbers and technology. None of them noticed the small smile on Miller's face as he left, or the way he immediately reached for his secure communicator. The council had just made the biggest mistake in its 10,000-year history. They were about to learn why humans always prepared for the worst, and why they were so very, very good at it. The council's fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system 3 days later. 500 ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, their hulls gleaming under the distant sunlight. At the fleet's center, Admiral Stone's flagship, Starbreaker, dwarfed the other vessels. Its purple-black hull stretched 12 kilometers from bow to stern. In Earth's orbital command center, Commander Jane Walker watched the tactical display with calm eyes. Red dots marked each enemy ship while blue dots showed Earth's visible defenses, a mere 50 ships in high orbit. "They're approaching in standard attack formation," reported Captain Davis from his station. "Just as intelligence predicted." Walker nodded, her short gray hair catching the light from the command center screens. "And they think we're primitive enough to only have 50 ships. Perfect." She pressed a button on her chair's armrest. "All stations, Combat Alert Alpha. This is not a drill." The alien fleet's communication came through on all channels, broadcast in multiple languages. Admiral Stone's hologram appeared in the command center, his crystalline body structure catching and reflecting light in complex patterns. "Attention Earth forces," Stone announced. "By order of the Galactic Council, your system is now under quarantine. Power down your weapons and prepare for technological inspection. Resistance will result in immediate military action." Walker stood up, straightening her blue uniform. "This is Commander Walker of the United Earth Defense Force. We reject your authority to quarantine our system. Your fleet is in violation of our sovereign space. Withdraw immediately." Stone's crystalline form flickered with what might have been amusement. "Commander, you face 500 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy. Your 50 vessels cannot hope to resist. Submit now, and we will be lenient." "I have a counteroffer," Walker replied. "Leave now, and we'll forget this happened. Stay, and you'll learn why humans don't make empty threats." The alien admiral's response was immediate. "Fire warning shots. Target their orbital platforms." Energy beams lanced out from the alien fleet. They were meant to pass close to Earth's ships, a show of force. Instead, they hit something invisible in space. Ripples of energy spread out from impact points in empty space, revealing layers of previously hidden energy shields. "Impossible," Stone's hologram flickered. "Your shield technology shouldn't be this advanced." Walker smiled. "That's the first of many things you got wrong about us." She pressed another button. "All ships, Operation Thunderclap is go. Show them what humanity can do." Space itself seemed to tear open. Hidden doors in asteroids slid aside. Hundreds of ships emerged from concealed bases on Mars and the Moon. But most impressive were the thousands of smaller vessels that simply appeared, their stealth systems deactivating to reveal Earth's true fleet. By the eternal stars, Stone's hologram stepped back. "How did you hide all this?" "We've been preparing for this day since we first looked up at the stars," Walker answered. "Initiate attack pattern Delta. Let's show them why you don't threaten Earth." Earth's ships moved with perfect coordination. The smaller vessels swarmed forward in complex patterns that confused alien targeting systems. Larger warships hung back, their advanced rail guns launching projectiles at near-light speed. Each shot carried a quantum warhead that bypassed standard alien shields. The first wave of fire struck the alien fleet. Ships that had never lost a battle found their shields useless against Earth's weapons. Stone watched in horror as 20 of his vessels exploded in the first minute. "This is impossible," he shouted. "Your technology level was assessed. You shouldn't have these capabilities. Walker's voice was cold. We showed you what we wanted you to see. Perhaps if the Council had treated us as equals instead of primitives, you wouldn't be learning about our real capabilities this way. Earth's fleet continued its attack. The smaller ships darted between alien vessels, their coordinated movements creating chaos in the enemy formation. More quantum warheads struck home. More alien ships exploded. All ships, retreat. Stone ordered. Fall back to. His hologram disappeared as a quantum warhead struck his flagship. In Earth's command center, Walker watched the alien fleet try to regroup. Send the message to all Council worlds, she ordered. Tell them. This was just our first response. Withdraw the containment order, or find out what else humanity has been hiding. As the alien fleet retreated in disarray, leaving their wounded ships behind, Earth's true fleet moved into defensive positions. The message was clear. Humanity wouldn't just resist the Council's attempted containment. They would make the Council regret ever thinking of Earth as primitive. Director James Reed stood in the underground command center of Project Phoenix, 3 miles beneath the surface of Mars. Around him, massive screens showed real-time data from the battle that had just ended. Technicians and military personnel worked at their stations, monitoring the aftermath of humanity's first major space victory. Status report, Reed ordered, his weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of the screens. Sir, the alien fleet is in full retreat, reported Lisa Brown, his chief tactical officer. They lost 47 ships. We lost none. She paused, checking her data. But they managed to send detailed scans of our quantum weapons to the Council before they fled. Reed nodded, running a hand through his white hair. Good. Let them see what we can do. Time to wake up the rest of our surprises. He pressed his palm against a DNA scanner. Initiate Project Phoenix Phase 2. Authorization read Alpha 7. Deep beneath the surfaces of Mars, Europa, and scattered throughout the asteroid belt, massive doors began to open. Hidden shipyards, carefully concealed from alien detection for decades, powered up their production lines. But the biggest surprise lay in the artificial caves beneath Mars. Wake them up, Reed commanded. In vast underground chambers, thousands of combat AIs stirred to life. Unlike the simple computer systems Earth had shown the Council, these AIs had been developing and learning for years, preparing for this moment. They were humanity's secret weapons, artificial intelligences designed specifically for space warfare. All AI cores online, announced Brown. The Knights of Mars are awake. Reed watched as new data filled the screens. The AIs were already analyzing the recent battle, developing counter-strategies, improving weapon systems. They worked at speeds no organic mind could match. Send the message to Earth Command, Reed ordered. Project Phoenix is fully operational. We're ready for Phase 2. In Earth's orbital command center, Commander Walker received the update. She smiled as she read the report, then turned to her crew. The Council thought they knew everything about us. They thought they had us measured and contained. Time to show them how wrong they were. New signals began broadcasting from Earth's fleet. The ships that had fought in the previous battle were suddenly moving with even greater precision. The AI cores were taking control, enhancing their capabilities beyond what any human crew could achieve. Multiple Council scout ships detected at the edge of the system, reported Captain Davis. They're watching us. Good, Walker replied. Let them see this. She opened a channel to all Earth forces. All ships, initiate AI integration. Knights of Mars, you have tactical control. The Council scouts watched in growing alarm as Earth's ships began moving in ways that defied conventional space combat doctrine. The AIs coordinated the entire fleet as one massive organism, with reaction times measured in microseconds. In the Council observation post at the system's edge, the alien observers frantically sent updates to their superiors. Their reports spoke of impossible maneuvers, of ships moving with perfect synchronization, of tactical patterns too complex for organic minds to create. Reed watched the Council's panicked communications with satisfaction. "They thought we were showing off our best technology before," he said to Brown. "They thought those quantum weapons were our secret advantage. They never imagined we were just getting started." The eye-controlled ships began demonstrating new capabilities. They moved in formations that created overlapping quantum fields, making them nearly invisible to standard sensors. Their weapons fired in precisely timed sequences that overwhelmed any defensive systems the Council had developed. "Sir," Brown called out, "we're detecting new Council ships entering the system. Bigger ones this time." Reed nodded. "They're bringing in their heavy units. Good. Time to show them what else we've been hiding." He opened a secure channel to Commander Walker. "The Knights of Mars are ready. Permission to deploy the Ghost Fleet." Walker's response was immediate. "Permission granted. Show them why Earth doesn't fear their numbers." As the Council's reinforcements approached, new ships began appearing throughout the solar system. These vessels were different, smaller, faster, controlled entirely by AI. They had never been shown to the Council, never hinted at in any report. The Ghost Fleet, humanity's ultimate hidden weapon, was about to join the fight, and the Council was about to learn that their worst nightmare had come true. They hadn't just underestimated human technology. They had underestimated human foresight, human determination, and human ability to prepare for the worst. The real war was about to begin. High Counselor Gray's silvery skin had lost its shine. He stood in the Council's emergency command center, watching displays showing the destruction of their second fleet. Around him, other Council members watched in stunned silence as Earth's forces demonstrated power no one had thought possible. "How?" a blue-skinned Council member whispered. "How did they hide all this?" Gray's response was angry. "It doesn't matter how they hid it. What matters is stopping them." He turned to his military commanders. "Launch the full invasion fleet. Every available ship. We will crush this human rebellion with overwhelming force." On the main screen, Admiral Stone's replacement, Admiral Green, appeared. His crystalline form showed signs of stress fractures. "High Counselor, I must advise against this. The humans have already destroyed 2 fleets. Their eye-controlled ships move faster than we can target. Their quantum weapons ignore our best shields." "Are you afraid of these primitives?" Gray demanded. "Yes," Green answered simply. "And you should be too." But Gray wouldn't listen. He sent the order, and across Council space, thousands of warships began moving toward Earth. The Council was committing its full military might to the fight. In Mars Command, Director Reed watched the massive fleet gathering. "They're really doing it," he said to Brown. "They're sending everything they have." "Just as we predicted they would," Brown replied, checking her displays. "Their pride won't let them accept defeat from a primitive species." Reed nodded. "Send the signal to Commander Walker. Operation Steel Rain is now active." In Earth's orbital command center, Walker received the message and smiled. "They never learned the first rule of warfare," she said to her crew. "Never commit all your forces without knowing your enemy's full capabilities." She pressed her command console. "All forces, execute Operation Steel Rain. Knights of Mars, you have full tactical control. Show them what humanity can really do." Across the solar system, hidden weapons platforms emerged from their concealment. Massive railgun arrays appeared from beneath the surface of Mercury, powered by the sun's energy. Missile bases revealed themselves on Europa and Titan, launching swarms of quantum-tipped weapons. But the real surprise came from Jupiter's atmosphere. Special facilities, hidden in the gas giant's storms for years, released their cargo. Thousands of automated drone ships, each controlled by AI, rose from the planet's clouds like angry wasps. The Council fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system, 15,000 ships strong. They formed up in attack formation, preparing to overwhelm Earth's defenses with sheer numbers. Admiral Green's voice was tense as he made the final demand. "Earth forces, this is your last chance. Surrender or be destroyed." Walker's response came in the form of action rather than words. The Knights of Mars activated every hidden weapon system at once. Rail guns fired massive projectiles at near-light speed. Missile swarms darkened space. The drone fleet attacked from multiple directions. The Council fleet found itself caught in humanity's trap. The AI-controlled weapons were everywhere, attacking with perfect coordination. Quantum warheads bypassed shields. Rail gunshots punched through the strongest armor. Drone ships executed maneuvers that organic pilots couldn't match. Impossible, Gray shouted as he watched his fleet being torn apart. Their technology, their AI, they've been preparing for war all along. No, Ambassador Miller's voice came through on all channels. He was speaking from Earth's command center now. We weren't preparing for war. We were preparing for this exact moment, when the Council would show its true nature and try to crush any species that might challenge its power. The battle wasn't even close. The Council's massive fleet, trained to fight conventional wars against conventional enemies, had no defense against humanity's AI-controlled weapons. Ships exploded by the hundreds, then thousands. Admiral Green's voice was desperate. Full retreat. All ships, emergency jump tow. His transmission cut off as his flagship disappeared in a flash of quantum fire. In Mars Command, Reed watched the Council fleet scatter. Send the message to all Council worlds, he ordered. Tell them, this was just our defense force. You haven't seen our attack fleet yet. The Council's mistake was complete. They had committed their full military might against Earth, and in doing so, had shown every watching species in the galaxy that the mighty Council could be defeated. Human dominance was no longer a question. It was now a fact. The mood in Earth's war room was grim but determined. Commander Walker stood before a group of military leaders from across the solar system, their faces illuminated by the holographic display showing Council space. The time has come, Walker announced, her voice steady. Operation Thunderstrike begins now. We take the fight to their worlds. Director Reed's hologram appeared beside her. The Knights of Mars have analyzed every Council defense system. Their AI cores have created perfect attack plans for each target. They won't expect us to strike so soon after defending our system. The room's main screen showed Earth's attack fleet assembling. Unlike the defensive forces that had protected the solar system, these ships were built for one purpose: taking the fight deep into Council space. First target, Walker pointed to a glowing dot on the map. The Council's main shipyard at Starbase Alpha. Without it, they can't replace the ships they lost here. In space, Earth's attack fleet moved into position. 5,000 ships, all controlled by the Knights of Mars AI system, formed up in attack formation. At their center was the UES Vengeance, humanity's first true AI-integrated capital ship, with Walker commanding from its bridge. All ships report ready, Captain Davis announced from his station. The Knights of Mars are fully synchronized. Walker nodded. Send the message to all ships. Operation Thunderstrike is go. Show them what happens when you threaten Earth. The fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel, using technology the Council didn't know humans possessed. They had copied it from alien ships years ago and improved it in secret. At Starbase Alpha, the Council's largest shipyard floated in space, its massive construction bays working to replace the fleet lost at Earth. Defensive platforms surrounded it, and a protection fleet of 500 ships patrolled nearby. The station's commander, a tall insectoid named Base Leader Red, was reviewing repair schedules when the alarms started blaring. Multiple contacts, his sensor officer shouted. They're human ships. The Earth fleet appeared from FTL travel directly among the defensive platforms. Before the Council forces could react, quantum torpedoes were already striking their targets. The Knights of Mars had calculated this attack down to the microsecond. Impossible. Red chittered in alarm. How did they get here so quickly? How did they know where to strike? The answer came in the form of more human ships appearing behind his defense fleet. The AI-controlled vessels moved with impossible precision, their weapons firing in perfect coordination. Council ships exploded by the dozens, their defenses useless against Earth's quantum weapons. Walker's voice broadcast across all frequencies. Your council tried to cage us. Now learn why that was a mistake. The UES Vengeance moved toward the station, its massive form dwarfing the defensive platforms. New weapons emerged from its hull, technologies humanity had developed but never revealed. All ships, execute attack pattern Delta, Walker commanded. Knights of Mars, you have weapons free. Show them our full capabilities. The battle was brutally one-sided. Council ships, designed to fight traditional enemies, had no defense against eye-controlled opponents that could react thousands of times faster than organic crews. The quantum weapons pierced their strongest shields. The coordinated drone strikes overwhelmed their point defense systems. In the Council's main chamber, High Counselor Gray received the news of the attack with disbelief. They're supposed to be contained in their system. How are they attacking our shipyards? More reports started flooding in. Human fleets had been spotted attacking other Council facilities. They were striking everywhere at once, their eye-controlled ships appearing from nowhere to destroy critical installations. Back at Starbase Alpha, Walker watched as the massive shipyard began breaking apart under her fleet's assault. Send the message to Earth Command, she ordered. Phase 1 of Operation Thunderstrike is complete. Moving to Phase 2. The human fleet regrouped, leaving the destroyed shipyard behind. As they prepared to jump to their next target, Walker sent one final message to the Council. You tried to contain us because you feared our potential. Now you've given us reason to show you everything we can do. This is just the beginning. The fleet disappeared into FTL travel, leaving behind a clear message. Humanity wasn't just defending itself anymore. They were taking the fight to the Council. And they were winning. The galaxy would never be the same. The Galactic Council's main chamber was no longer the place of order and power it had been just weeks ago. Blast marks scared its crystal dome from a recent human strike. Half the seats stood empty. Many council races had flowed after Earth's attacks began. High Counselor Gray's silvery skin had turned dull gray from stress. He stared at the latest damage reports hovering in the air before him. In just 2 weeks, human forces had destroyed 30 major military installations, 7 shipyards, and 4 council defense stations. Another fleet lost in Sector 7. A blue-skinned aide reported, voice trembling. The humans' eye ships. They don't fight like anything we've seen before. The chamber's main doors slid open. Ambassador Miller walked in, wearing the same gray suit he'd worn when the Council had dismissed him. But now, he wasn't alone. Commander Walker and Director Reed flanked him. And behind them floated 3 metallic spheres, physical forms of the Knights of Mars Eye. Hello, Counselor Gray, Miller said calmly. Ready to discuss terms. Gray's skin rippled with anger. Terms. You dare to. A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber, showing live footage of Earth's attack fleets positioned near key Council worlds. Walker stepped forward, her uniform crisp and clean. We dare quite a lot, she said. Your fleet is destroyed. Your defenses are broken. Your member races are abandoning you. The only question is how much more damage you want to take before you surrender. One of the AI spheres floated forward, its surface glowing with soft blue light. When it spoke, its voice was surprisingly gentle. We have calculated 57 different ways to completely dismantle the Council's remaining power structure. Would you like to see the simulations? Gray slumped in his chair. What do you want? Miller smiled. The same thing we wanted from the beginning. Equality and respect. He pulled out a datapad. Here are our terms. The terms appeared on all screens in the chamber. The remaining Council members read them with growing disbelief. 1. Earth would receive a permanent seat on the Council, with full voting rights. 2. All Council races would share their technology databases with Earth, just as Earth would share its non-military advances. 3. The Council would recognize humanity's right to defend itself and maintain its military forces. 4. Any future attempts to contain or control Earth would be considered an act of war. This is outrageous, a reptilian counselor hissed. You can't demand. Another AI sphere interrupted by projecting images of Earth's ghost fleet, currently holding position near the counselor's homeworld. The reptilian fell silent. Director Reed stepped forward. We don't want to rule the council. We don't want to destroy it. We just want what we've always wanted, to be treated as equals. And if we refuse? Gray asked quietly. Walker touched a control on her wrist. Above the council chamber, space seemed to tear open as a massive ship appeared. The UES Vengeance hung in the sky like a sword of Damocles. Then we finish what you started, Walker replied. But remember, you've seen only a fraction of our capabilities. Do you really want to find out what else we've been holding back? The chamber erupted in arguments. Some council members wanted to fight to the end. Others were already signaling their agreement to Earth's terms. The council was fracturing before their eyes. Miller raised his hand for silence. You have 1 hour to decide. Choose wisely. He turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and High Counselor Gray, remember when you call us primitives? How did that work out for you? Gray's skin had turned almost white. He looked at the terms again, then at the massive human warship visible through the crystal dome. Finally, he looked at the empty seats where his allies had once sat. The council, he said, his voice barely a whisper. The council accepts Earth's terms. Miller nodded. Good choice. Now let's talk about the new galaxy we're going to build together, as equals. The Knights of Mars spheres hummed with approval. Humanity had won not just the war, but the peace that would follow. And they had done it not through blind destruction, but by showing the galaxy exactly why Earth should never be underestimated. The age of council dominance was over. The age of human influence had begun. 1 year after the council's surrender, the Great Chamber looked very different. The crystal dome had been rebuilt, stronger than before. New seats had been added, arranged in equal circles rather than rising tiers. At the center, where once only council leaders could stand, a rotating platform now allowed all representatives to speak from the same position. Ambassador Miller sat in Earth's seat, watching the proceedings with satisfaction. Beside him, a Knight of Mars sphere floated quietly, its presence a reminder of humanity's power. The changes in the chamber reflected the deeper changes in galactic society. The first year of the new council is now in session, announced the newly elected head speaker, a position that replaced the old High Counselor role. She was from one of the younger races that had previously held little power. Her election had been one of many changes Earth had helped bring about. Former High Counselor Gray sat in his reduced seat, his silver skin still dulled. He watched as representatives from previously ignored races took turns speaking at the central platform. Earth's victory had done more than just humble the council. It had completely changed the balance of power. The technology exchange program has shown great success, reported a young alien scientist. Human AI systems, working with our researchers, have solved problems that troubled us for centuries. Their approach of combining artificial and organic intelligence has opened new possibilities. Miller smiled, remembering how the Council had once feared human AI development. Now, carefully controlled versions of the Knights of Mars helped coordinate galactic research, trade, and exploration. Humanity had shown that technology was a tool. It was how you used it that mattered. Commander Walker, now Admiral Walker, appeared via hologram. Her fleet was helping patrol trade routes that pirates had once terrorized. The Joint Defense Initiative is proceeding as planned, she reported. Earth's ships are training crews from 15 different worlds in advanced combat techniques. The galaxy is becoming safer for everyone. Director Reed, attending in person, stood to address the chamber. Project Phoenix has been reproposed as planned. Our shipyards are now building vessels for peaceful exploration. The Knights of Mars are focusing 60% of their processing power on solving galactic-scale problems like resource distribution and environmental protection. The chamber hummed with positive discussion. Even former critics of humanity had to admit that Earth had used its victory wisely. Instead of dominating the Council, they had reformed it. Instead of hoarding their technology, they shared it. Though they kept some military secrets, a fact everyone understood. There are still challenges, Miller acknowledged when it was his turn to speak. Some races resist the changes. Some fear humanity's influence. But look at what we've accomplished in 1 year. Trade has increased by 300%. Scientific breakthroughs are happening weekly. Smaller races have protection against aggression. The galaxy is growing together. The night of Mars' sphere glowed softly as it added its own observation. Probability of major galactic conflict has decreased by 78%. Cooperation and innovation indices show consistent positive trends. The decision to reform, rather than replace the Council structure, has proven optimal. In the back of the chamber, Ambassador Jones, Miller's assistant, was showing a group of young alien diplomats historical recordings of the conflict that had changed everything. They watched in awe as Earth's hidden fleet revealed itself, as the AI ships danced through combat, as humanity demonstrated power no one had suspected. The lesson wasn't that we were stronger, Jones explained to them. The lesson was that no one should be judged by appearances. Every race has potential. Every species deserves respect. As the session ended, Miller stood in the chamber's grand entrance hall, looking at the new mural that had been installed. It showed Earth and Council ships flying together, surrounded by symbols of cooperation and progress. Below it, written in every galactic language, was the new Council's motto: "Together in wisdom, united in strength." Not bad for a bunch of primitives, Miller muttered to himself, straightening his tie with a smile. The night of Mars' sphere hummed in agreement. Humanity's greatest strength was never its weapons or its AI. It was knowing when to fight and when to make peace. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Never again would the Council underestimate a developing race. Never again would they mistake preparation for aggression. And never again would they forget how humanity had transformed from threatened prey to respected equal through careful planning, advanced technology, and the wisdom to use power responsibly. The age of arrogance was over. The age of cooperation had begun.